In this fifth and final installment of the burpee video series, we're going to look at the difference between a hinge burpee versus a squat burpee and how a simple change in our movement pattern can alter the nature of the burpee that we're performing. For example, even though these two burpees may look quite similar as they're being performed, the way in which we transition either to the ground or from the ground and into the jump can actually have a huge impact on what muscles are being used and where we feel any additional fatigue. Really, this shows us that we have two distinct choices when performing burpees. Either we can use a squat or a hinge pattern during the transition phase of our burpee. To kick things off, let's look at the squat style of burpee. So stand in a stance wide enough to allow for a nice deep bodyweight squat. Usually with your feet slightly turned out, just outside shoulder width apart. Now squat down, bending through the ankles, knees and hips whilst keeping the body in a more upright position, before placing the hands shoulder width apart and just in front of the feet. Kick out or walk out, depending on what burpee variation you are doing, and move through the push-up, making sure that your chest touches the ground. Once you get to the top of the push-up, kick the hips up or walk your feet back and move back into your same squat stance as before. Next, drop the hips and lift the chest, swinging the arms back before you jump. Accelerate upwards, swinging your arms through and jumping into the air to clap above your head. Remember to land nice and softly before moving into your next rep. The squat style of burpee is like adding a bodyweight squat and a jump squat to your regular burpee. This is going to work your legs in their entirety due to the full and complete ranges that your hips and knees will go through, though you may feel a good burn in those quads. Also, due to that upright posture, you'll find that there is less demand on the back. You'll also need greater ankle and hip mobility to achieve the bottom position that the deep squat requires. The hinge variety is pretty similar to what we've already learned with our previous burpee videos that shares a lot in common with the deadlift. Basically, from a narrower hip width stance, the body pushes back and hinges through the hips, with a lesser knee bend and a deeper body angle before the hands reach the floor. Once you kick back and move through the push-up, of course depending on what burpee you're performing, the hinge will begin again. Placing the feet back in a hip width stance, the chest lifts up and the arms swing back, highlighting the same high hip position, lesser knee bend and steeper body angle as before, especially when compared to the squat version. Lastly, the arms swing through and you jump into the air, aiming to land softly before moving on. Your glutes and hamstrings will drive this variation, whilst placing a greater demand through your back and all of the posterior chain. In terms of what method works the best, well, it's entirely up to what feels and works best for you, because some folk prefer and feel more comfortable with either the squat or the hinge when performing burpees. Having this choice also allows you to shift the effort in those longer sets by giving you the option of moving to the hinge if you're starting to feel your quads burn in the squat, or deloading the back from the hinge by shifting to the squat. My advice? Have a play around with both styles of burpees during your training sessions, so you can get a real feel to the differences that both of these methods bring to the training table.